Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales and boundless imagination come to life. Enjoy the story and don't forget to subscribe. Alarms blared through the royal chambers as Princess Celestia sprinted down the crystalline corridors. Her luminescent blue skin cast ethereal shadows on the polished walls. The sound of heavy boots and energy weapons charging echoed behind her. "Your Highness, you must evacuate immediately," her guard captain's voice crackled through the neural comm. "The Ryan forces have breached the inner sanctum." Celestia clutched the ancient artifact closer to her chest, its warm pulse matching her racing heartbeat. Her ceremonial dress, completely impractical for running, tangled around her legs. Without breaking stride, she ripped the delicate fabric, transforming it into something more manageable. "Status of the escape vessel," she demanded, rounding a corner just as an energy blast scorched the wall where her head had been moments before. "Ready for launch, but you have less than 3 minutes before they lock down all departure protocols." The princess didn't waste breath responding. She had trained for this, even if she'd hoped never to use that training. The artifact grew warmer against her skin, almost as if responding to her distress. The hangar bay doors slid open at her approach. Her personal transport waited, sleek and deadly, its quantum engines already humming with pre-launch sequences. Another blast of energy fire forced her to dive and roll, her enhanced reflexes the only thing keeping her alive. "Stop the princess. The artifact must not leave." The harsh voice of Commander Varkos boomed through the hangar. Celestia practically threw herself into the pilot's seat, her fingers flying over the nerve interface. The ship's systems merged with her consciousness, becoming an extension of her will. She had time for one final glance at her home before the hangar bay erupted in weapons fire. The ship rocketed into space, breaking through the planet's defense grid mere seconds before it locked down completely. But her victory was short-lived. Multiple Ryan warships appeared on her sensors, moving to intercept. "Computer, plot course to the CTHX system," she ordered, thinking of the warrior race that might offer her protection. The ship's AI complied, calculating the quantum jump parameters. What happened next occurred too fast for even her enhanced reflexes to counter. A Ryan energy lance struck her ship's propulsion system just as it initiated the quantum jump. Reality twisted, space-time warped, and everything went black. Consciousness returned slowly, accompanied by the acrid smell of burning circuitry. Celestia opened her eyes to find her ship's cabin bathed in the red glow of emergency lighting. The main viewport showed unfamiliar stars and a blue-green planet slowly rotating below. "Location," she croaked. "Planet designation, Earth. Technology level, pre-quantum civilization. Threat assessment, minimal." Celestia cursed in 3 different languages. Of all the primitive backwater planets to crash on, she had to land on one that hadn't even mastered basic interstellar travel. The ship shuddered, entering the atmosphere at entirely the wrong angle. Celestia fought with the controls, trying to guide their descent toward a less populated area. They broke through the cloud cover over what appeared to be some kind of storage facility on the outskirts of a small settlement. The impact was less than graceful. When the dust settled, Celestia assessed her situation. The ship was a total loss, but her personal shield had protected her from serious injury. The artifact remained secure, still pulsing with its ancient power. She needed to find somewhere to hide and plan her next move. A noise outside caught her attention. Someone was approaching the crash site. "Hello? Anyone alive in there?" a male voice called out. "That was quite an entrance you made." Celestia hesitated. Her universal translator was working, but something about the voice struck her as unusual. It carried none of the fear or panic she'd expect from a primitive encountering advanced technology. If anything, the man sounded amused. She activated the emergency exit, and the damaged hatch groaned open with a hiss of hydraulics. Standing before her was a human male, tall with an athletic build and attractive features by what she assumed were local standards. He wore simple work clothes and bore an expression of casual interest, as if crash-landed spacecraft were an everyday occurrence. "You seem remarkably calm for someone witnessing first contact," Celestia observed, stepping gracefully from the wreckage despite her disheveled state. The man, who appeared to be in his late 20s by human standards, simply shrugged and offered a crooked smile. "I'm Kay, and you look like you could use a hand, unless crashing spaceships is your typical Saturday night entertainment. I am Princess Celestia of the—" She began formally, then caught herself. "Just Celestia will do. And no, this isn't my preferred method of making an entrance." "Princess, huh?" Kay's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Well, Your Highness, you might want to know that your crash landing has attracted some attention. I can hear sirens in the distance." As if on cue, the air filled with the sound of approaching emergency vehicles. Celestia tensed, her hand moving to the concealed energy weapon at her hip. "Relax," Kay said, still maddeningly casual. "I've got a workshop just around the corner. We can hide your ship under some tarps, and you can blend in as a cosmic cosplayer until we figure out your next move." "A what?" "Never mind. Just trust me. I've got a feeling everything's going to work out fine." Before Celestia could object to taking advice from a primitive, her ship's proximity sensors screamed a warning. Orion's scout ship had entered the atmosphere, following her trajectory. To her astonishment, Kay's relaxed demeanor didn't change at all. He simply glanced at the sky, then back at her with that same confident smile. "Well, Princess, looks like this night just got interesting." Against all her better judgment and royal training, Celestia found herself following him. There was something about his impossible confidence that intrigued her. Either he was the biggest fool in the galaxy, or he knew something she didn't. She had no idea that this seemingly random encounter would change not only her fate but the fate of two civilizations. And it all started because of one human's impossibly lucky timing. Kay's workshop turned out to be a sprawling junkyard garage filled with an eclectic collection of half-finished projects and machinery. The space should have felt chaotic, but somehow everything seemed precisely where it needed to be. "Home sweet home," Kay announced, leading her through a side entrance. "Not exactly a palace, but it's got character." Celestia scanned the area, her enhanced senses picking up the lingering scent of engine oil and metal. "This is surprisingly adequate for concealment." Was that almost a compliment? Kay grinned, clearing space on a workbench. "You're warming up to us primitives already." Before she could form a suitably royal retort, the distinct hum of Ryan's scanning technology filled the air. Celestia instinctively moved to take cover, but Kay caught her wrist gently. "Stay still," he whispered, his casualness finally giving way to focus. "Trust me on this." The scanning beam passed directly overhead. By all logic, it should have detected them instantly. Instead, it swept past without pause, as if the entire workshop was invisible. "That's impossible," Celestia muttered. "Their quantum detection system should have." "Sometimes the universe just likes to play favorites," Kay winked. "Speaking of which, want to tell me what brings a blue-skinned space princess to my humble establishment?" Celestia studied him carefully. No ordinary human should have been able to shield them from alien technology, yet here they stood, completely undetected. "I'm being pursued by an empire that wants this," she revealed, holding up the artifact. Its soft glow illuminated the space between them. "It's a key to ancient power, and I need to find someone strong enough to help me activate it before the Ryan can claim it." Ancient power, evil empire, beautiful princess on the run. Kay counted off on his fingers. Just another Saturday night in Newark. "You're making light of a grave situation," Celestia frowned, though something about his irreverence was oddly refreshing after years of court formality. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm exactly what you're looking for." He stepped closer, and for the first time, Celestia noticed the subtle grace in his movements. "After all, I did just help you dodge an alien detection scan." "That was She paused, searching for an explanation. Actually, how did you do that? A crash from outside interrupted them. 3 Ryan shock troops had landed in the junkyard, their armor gleaming under Earth's moon. Time for explanations later, Kay said, his smile never wavering. Right now, we should probably. The wall behind them exploded inward as a Ryan energy blast struck it. Kay grabbed Celestia's hand and pulled her toward what appeared to be a dead end. Just as she was about to question his judgment, a section of the wall slid aside, revealing a hidden passage. Secret tunnel, he explained casually. Never know when you might need one. You just happen to have a secret tunnel ready? I like to be prepared. Also, I had a feeling this morning that I should finish installing it. They emerged in what appeared to be an underground garage housing a sleek black vehicle. Kay opened the door for her with an exaggerated bow. Your chariot awaits, princess. As they sped away from the workshop, Celestia watched in the rearview mirror as the Ryan troops stumbled into various accidents with the junkyard equipment. One slipped on a perfectly placed oil slick, another got tangled in chains that happened to fall, and the third was buried under an avalanche of spare tires. That's not normal, she said finally. No one is that lucky. Kay just smiled, taking a corner at high speed. Maybe the universe just likes a good love story. Love story? Celestia arched an eyebrow. You're rather presumptuous for a primitive. Says the princess who's letting this primitive save her life. His eyes met hers briefly in the mirror, filled with mischief and something else she couldn't quite read. Besides, you're still holding my hand. Celestia quickly released his hand, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in her cheeks. The artifact pulsed stronger, almost like it was laughing at her. I need a warrior, she declared firmly. Someone with real power to help me activate the artifact and defeat the Ryan Empire. And instead, I got, lucky me, Kay replied cheerfully. Universe has a sense of humor that way. As they drove into the night, Celestia found herself wondering if perhaps luck might be exactly what she needed. After all, this peculiar human had already defied probability multiple times in just one evening. The artifact's pulse seemed to agree, growing warmer every time Kay smiled in her direction. The night air whipped through the car as Kay navigated back roads with impossible precision. Every time Celestia's sensors detected a Ryan patrol, they'd somehow just miss it, turning left when the hunters went right or passing under an overpass exactly as scouts flew overhead. This vehicle is surprisingly adequate, Celestia admitted, studying the classic car's interior. Another compliment. Careful, princess, you'll ruin your reputation. Kay drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. So, about this artifact. A blast of energy cut through the air above them. Kay smoothly swerved without looking up, the shot missing them by inches. Perhaps we should discuss it somewhere less exposed, Celestia suggested, gripping the artifact tighter. Fair point. I know just the place. Kay turned down what appeared to be a dead-end alley, but at the last second, a hidden driveway appeared. The car slipped into an underground garage beneath an old Art Deco building. You have multiple hidden facilities? Celestia asked, impressed despite herself. Let's just say I like to be prepared, though honestly, I didn't know why I bought this place until about. He checked his watch with a grin. 3 hours ago, when you crashed into my life. The garage connected to a surprisingly elegant apartment. Modern furniture mixed with antique pieces, and floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city skyline. Everything seemed carefully chosen yet casually arranged. Make yourself at home, Kay gestured. Pretty sure we lost them for now. Celestia did a quick scan of the perimeter. This location has remarkable strategic advantages. The building's architecture creates natural sensor blind spots. Really, huh? I just like the view. Kay moved to the kitchen. Coffee? Or do space princesses prefer something stronger? I don't require. She started formally, then caught herself. Coffee would be acceptable. As Kay prepared the drinks, Celestia studied him more carefully. His movements held no wasted motion yet seemed completely unplanned. He hummed softly, apparently unbothered by the fact that deadly alien warriors were hunting them. "Here you go, Your Highness." He handed her a mug. "Now, about that artifact." Celestia held up the ancient device, its blue glow matching her skin tone. "It's called the Heart of Astria. Legend says it can only be activated by joining two compatible life forces, one of royal blood and one of exceptional power. And you crashed on Earth looking for this powerful someone?" "Not exactly. I was aiming for the CTHX system, their warriors are legendary." Kay leaned against the counter, eyes twinkling. "Instead, you got lucky and found me." Lucky is not the word I'd use for being stranded on a primitive planet with inadequate technological resources. And she paused as Kay casually stepped aside just as a Ryan tracking bolt shattered the window where he'd been standing. "You were saying?" He smiled, already moving toward what looked like a perfect cover spot. Kay effortlessly dodged the debris from the shattered window, his movements fluid and almost preternaturally aware. "Ryan Tech. Nasty stuff," he commented, as if discussing the weather. "Luckily, this place has a few surprises of its own." He tapped a control panel hidden beneath a piece of artwork, and the room hummed with a low thrum of energy. "What did you just do?" Celestia asked, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Engaged the quantum dampeners," Kay explained. "Makes this whole building invisible to their sensors, for a while at least. Gives us a little breathing room." He grinned. "Also, the view's better now." The shattered window shimmered and reformed, becoming transparent once more. Celestia stared in disbelief. "This is no ordinary building," she stated. "What exactly do you do here, Kay?" "I dabble," he replied vaguely, heading towards the kitchen area again. "More coffee? Or maybe something with a little more kick?" Celestia shook her head, trying to process the latest revelations. This human was proving to be far more complex than she had initially assumed. "Explain," she demanded, gesturing to the room around them. "This technology, it's far beyond Earth's capabilities." "Let's just say I have a few friends," Kay said, pouring himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "And a few hobbies." He took a sip, his eyes twinkling. "But that's not important right now. What is important is this Heart of Astria you keep talking about. What exactly does it do?" Celestia hesitated. The heart held the key to her people's survival, but revealing too much to a stranger could be a dangerous gamble. Yet, she had little choice. She needed Kay's help, and trust was essential. "The Heart of Astria is more than just an artifact," she began, holding it up for him to see. "It's a repository of our planet's life force, a conduit for ancient energy. Legend says it can amplify the powers of a worthy individual, granting them the ability to restore balance to the galaxy." "Balance, huh?" Kay raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like a tall order." "It is. The Ryan Empire seeks to control the heart to fuel their war machine, to dominate every civilization in the galaxy," Celestia continued, her voice hardening. "They will stop at nothing to get their hands on it. And what happens if they succeed? Astria will fall. And countless others will follow," she said grimly. "The Ryan thrive on chaos and domination. With the heart, they would become unstoppable." Kay swirled the liquid in his glass, his expression thoughtful. "So, this artifact needs a special someone to activate it, someone with exceptional power. Why are you so sure I'm that person?" Celestia stepped closer, studying him intently. "It's more than just your luck," she admitted. "I can sense something within you, a dormant energy. The heart itself resonates in your presence. You may not realize it, but you are far from ordinary, Kay." He chuckled, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes. "I've always known I was different," he admitted. I just never knew why. He paused, as if coming to a decision. Alright, princess. I'm in. But I have a few questions of my own. Ask, Celestia said, relieved. First, what kind of exceptional power are we talking about? Super strength? Teleportation? Laser vision? He grinned. Because I've always wanted laser vision. Celestia rolled her eyes, but she couldn't help but smile. It's not that simple. The heart amplifies what's already there. If you have a knack for technology, it might grant you unimaginable engineering abilities. If you have a strong connection to nature, it could give you control over the elements. And what if I'm just good at dodging trouble? Then perhaps it will make you unstoppable. Kay considered this, then nodded. Okay, I like the sound of that. Second question, how do we activate this thing? The legends speak of a ritual, a convergence of energy at a sacred site, Celestia explained. But the location of that site has been lost for centuries. All I know is that it's somewhere on this planet. Great, Kay said dryly. So, we have to find a hidden location on a planet I barely know, all while being hunted by an intergalactic empire. Any chance we can get some help? Celestia frowned. I had hoped to contact the CTHX warriors, but I doubt my ship sent a distress signal before it crashed. And even if it did, it could take weeks for them to arrive. We're on our own for now. Not necessarily, Kay said, a sly grin spreading across his face. I know someone who might be able to help. She's a bit eccentric, but she's the best in the business when it comes to ancient artifacts and weird energy signatures. Who is she? Her name is Zara. She's a scientist, a historian, and a bit of a conspiracy theorist, Kay explained. She's been studying strange phenomena for years, and she's always on the lookout for new discoveries. If anyone can decipher the heart of Astria, it's her. Can we trust her? Celestia asked, her instincts wary. Absolutely, Kay said without hesitation. Zara may be a bit unconventional, but she's loyal. And she hates the Ryan as much as we do. Celestia weighed her options. Trusting a stranger was risky, but they were running out of time. Alright, she conceded. Let's find Zara. Kay grinned, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. Excellent. I'll give her a call. He grabbed a sleek device from his pocket and spoke a few words into it. Zara? It's Kay. I need your help with something big. I think I've found something you're going to want to see. Yes, alien technology. No, seriously, alien. Can you meet me at the usual place in an hour? Great. See you then. He hung up, turning back to Celestia with a smile. Zara's on her way. In the meantime, why don't you tell me more about this sacred site? Maybe we can narrow down our search. As Celestia began to recount the Astrian legends, Kay listened intently, his mind already working to piece together the puzzle. He knew that finding the sacred site would be a dangerous undertaking, but he was ready for the challenge. He had a feeling that his life was about to become a lot more interesting. Impressive reflexes, Celestia commented dryly, watching as Kay casually moved aside, narrowly avoiding the energy bolt. You seem to be accustomed to having things explode around you. Comes with the territory, Kay replied with a shrug, already moving to activate another set of the building's defenses. Zara should be here any minute. Hopefully, we can have a slightly less exciting conversation. Celestia remained tense, her hand still resting on her concealed weapon. She was beginning to appreciate Kay's resourcefulness, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. I still find it hard to believe that this Zara can help us. What makes you so sure she knows anything about Astrian artifacts? Zara has a knack for finding things that others have lost or forgotten. She's been tracking unexplained phenomena for decades and cataloging artifacts that nobody else even believes exist. Kay grinned. Plus, she owes me a few favors. Before Celestia could press further, the doorbell chimed. Kay glanced at the security monitor, his expression softening. That'll be Zara. Try not to scare her too much with the Space Princess act, okay? Celestia composed herself as Kay opened the door. A woman with wild, frizzy hair, mismatched clothing, and an intense gaze strode into the apartment. She carried a battered leather satchel and a device that looked like a cross between a tricorder and a vintage radio. Kay, darling, she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him in a hug. I heard alien technology and dropped everything. What have you found this time? Another crashed UFO? A portal to another dimension? Better, Kay said, stepping aside to reveal Celestia. Zara, meet Princess Celestia of Astria. Celestia, this is Zara, the brains of the operation. Zara's eyes widened as she took in Celestia's luminescent blue skin and regal bearing. A real princess? From outer space? Oh, this is even better than I imagined. She rushed forward, grabbing Celestia's hand and examining her with childlike fascination. Are you really blue? Is that your natural skin tone? Can I take a sample? Zara, Kay cautioned, pulling her back gently. Remember your manners. Right, sorry, Zara said, composing herself slightly. It's just. I've been waiting for this my entire life. A real alien artifact. Where is it? Show me, show me. Celestia carefully retrieved the heart of Astria from its hiding place and presented it to Zara. The scientist gasped, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Incredible. The energy signature, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. May I? She reached out to take the artifact, her fingers trembling. Celestia hesitated, but Kay nodded encouragingly. She handed the heart to Zara, who immediately began examining it with her device. Quantum resonance, subharmonic frequencies, this is. She looked up at Celestia, her voice filled with awe. This is a piece of history. This could change everything. That's what I'm hoping, Celestia said. But we need to decipher its secrets before the Ryan Empire gets their hands on it. Zara frowned. The Ryan? Those warmongering thugs. What do they want with this? Celestia explained the heart's significance and the Ryan's plans to use it for their own nefarious purposes. Zara listened intently, her expression growing increasingly grim. Those bastards, she muttered. They won't get their hands on this, not if I can help it. She turned to Kay. We need to get to my lab. I have the equipment there to analyze this properly. Sounds like a plan, Kay said. But we might have company. He gestured to the security monitor, which showed several Ryan scout ships approaching the building. Looks like they've found us again. Damn it! Zara exclaimed. I hate those Ryan scanners. They always ruin everything. Don't worry, Kay said with a grin. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. He led them back to the hidden garage and the sleek black vehicle. Time for another scenic drive. As they sped away from the apartment, Celestia couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The Ryan forces were too close, too persistent. Someone must be feeding them information. But who? Zara's lab was located in an abandoned subway station beneath the city. It was a chaotic mix of scientific equipment, dusty books, and strange artifacts. Zara immediately set to work analyzing the heart of Astria, her fingers flying over the controls of her various devices. I'm detecting a hidden message within the artifact's energy signature, she announced after several hours. It's a series of coordinates, but they're encrypted. I need to break the code. How long will that take? Celestia asked, her patience wearing thin. It could take hours, days even, Zara replied. Unless. She glanced at Kay, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Kay, darling, do you think you could try touching it again? Sometimes a direct interface can unlock hidden pathways. Kay hesitated, but Celestia nodded. It's worth a try. Kay reached out and gently touched the heart of Astria. A surge of energy coursed through his body, and his eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. He began to speak in a language that Celestia didn't recognize, an ancient Astrian dialect lost to time. He's reciting the prophecy. Celestia exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. The location of the sacred site, he's revealing it. As Kay finished the recitation, the encrypted coordinates appeared on Zara's screen. I've got them, she shouted. The sacred site, it's located in the Redwood National Park, on the coast of California. Then that's where we need to go, Celestia said. But we need to leave now. I have a feeling the Ryan won't be far behind. They packed up Zara's equipment and prepared to leave the lab. As they reached the entrance, a figure stepped out of the shadows. It was one of Zara's assistants, a young woman named Genera. I can't let you leave, Genera said, her voice trembling. I'm sorry, but I have no choice. She raised a Ryan energy pistol, aiming it at Celestia. The Ryan offered me a lot to ensure the princess was captured. Genera? How could you? Zara exclaimed, her face a mask of shock and betrayal. I trusted you. I'm sorry, Zara, Genera repeated, her voice cracking. But I had to do it. They threatened my family. Before Celestia could react, Kay stepped in front of her, shielding her from the blast. The energy pistol fired, striking Kay in the chest. He staggered backward, his eyes wide with pain. Kay! Celestia cried out, rushing to his side. Run! Kay gasped, clutching his chest. Get out of here. I'll hold them off. Celestia hesitated, torn between her duty to protect the heart and her desire to help Kay. But she knew that he was right. She couldn't afford to waste any time. Zara, get him out of here, she ordered. I'll deal with Genera. Zara nodded, grabbing Kay's arm and pulling him toward the hidden exit. Celestia turned to face Genera, her eyes blazing with fury. You will regret this, she said, her voice cold and deadly. The battle had begun, and the shadows of betrayal had fallen upon them. They had a location, but the Ryan now knew it, too. With a traitor in their midst and Kay injured, their mission just became even more dangerous. Their fate now hung in the balance. The air in the abandoned subway station crackled with tension. Celestia stood her ground, her eyes locked on Genera. The young woman's face was a mixture of fear and desperation as she clutched the Ryan energy pistol. I'm sorry, Princess, Genera repeated, her voice trembling. But I had to. They threatened my family. I didn't want to hurt anyone. But you did, Celestia replied, her voice cold and devoid of emotion. You betrayed your friend, endangered innocent lives, and sided with an empire that enslaves entire civilizations. There is no excuse for that. Genera's resolve seemed to crumble under Celestia's gaze. Tears streamed down her face as she lowered the weapon. What have I done? She whispered. Before Celestia could respond, the ground began to shake. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel, growing closer with each passing second. They're here. Genera cried out, her eyes wide with panic. The Ryan soldiers, they're coming. Celestia knew that they couldn't afford to stay and fight. Kay was injured, and Zara was struggling to help him escape. They needed to get out of the subway station and find a safe place to regroup. Zara! Get Kay to the escape tunnel. Celestia shouted, drawing her own energy weapon. I'll hold them off. Zara nodded, her face grim. Be careful, Celestia. Those Ryan soldiers are ruthless. She helped Kay to his feet and guided him towards a hidden passage behind a crumbling wall. Celestia turned to face the approaching Ryan soldiers, her weapon raised and ready. She knew that she was outnumbered and outgunned, but she refused to back down. She would fight to protect the heart of Astria, even if it meant sacrificing her own life. The Ryan soldiers emerged from the tunnel, their armor gleaming under the dim lights of the subway station. They were led by Commander Varkos, a tall, imposing figure with a cruel smile on his face. "Well, well, Princess," Varkos sneered. "I see you're still clinging to that worthless artifact. It's time to give it up. Your rebellion ends here." "I will never surrender the heart of Astria to you," Celestia replied, her voice filled with defiance. "It belongs to my people, and I will defend it with my life." Varkos laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the tunnel. "You are a fool, Princess. You cannot possibly hope to defeat us. Surrender now, and perhaps I will spare your life." "I would rather die than surrender to the likes of you," Celestia retorted. "Very well," Varkos said, his smile fading. "Then you shall die." He raised his hand, and the Ryan soldiers opened fire. Celestia dodged and weaved through the energy blasts, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to avoid most of the attacks. She returned fire, taking down several Ryan soldiers with well-aimed shots. But she knew that she couldn't hold them off forever. They were too many, and they were too well equipped. Just when she thought she was about to be overwhelmed, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Genera, wielding the Ryan energy pistol with surprising skill. "I may have made mistakes," Genera shouted, "but I'm not going to let you hurt my friends." She opened fire on the Ryan soldiers, taking them by surprise. Celestia stared at Genera in disbelief. She couldn't believe that the young woman was risking her life to help them after betraying them. But there was no time to question her motives. They needed to work together to survive. Together, Celestia and Genera fought off the Ryan soldiers, pushing them back into the tunnel. They knew that they couldn't win the battle, but they could buy enough time for Kay and Zara to escape. Finally, when they were sure that Kay and Zara were safe, Celestia and Genera retreated into the escape tunnel, sealing the entrance behind them. They had managed to escape the subway station, but they knew that the Ryan forces would be searching for them. They needed to find a new safe haven and come up with a plan to activate the heart of Astria. As they emerged from the tunnel, they found themselves in a deserted alleyway. Zara and Kay were waiting for them, leaning against the sleek black vehicle. "Are you all right?" Celestia asked, rushing to Kay's side. "I'll live," Kay said, wincing in pain. "But we need to get moving. The Ryan will be searching for us." "Where can we go?" Celestia asked. "I know someone who can help us," Kay replied. "His name is Jax. He's a tech genius and a bit of a recluse, but he's the best in the business when it comes to hiding from the authorities." "Can we trust him?" Celestia asked, her instincts wary. "Absolutely," Kay said with a grin. "Jax owes me a few favors, and he hates the Ryan as much as we do." They piled into the car and sped away, heading towards Jax's secret hideout. As they drove, Celestia couldn't help but wonder what the future held. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and hunted by a ruthless empire. But they had the heart of Astria, and they had each other. And as long as they had hope, they had a chance. Jax's hideout turned out to be a sprawling complex hidden beneath a nondescript warehouse on the outskirts of the city. It was filled with computers, servers, and all sorts of high-tech gadgets. Jax himself was a skinny, pale-faced man with wild hair and piercing eyes. "Kay, my man!" Jax exclaimed, throwing his arms around Kay in a hug. "What brings you to my humble abode? And who are these lovely ladies?" "Jax, meet Princess Celestia of Astria and Zara," Kay said. "They need our help. They're being hunted by the Ryan Empire." Jax's eyes widened. "The Ryan? Those bastards? What do they want?" Celestia explained the heart of Astria's significance and the Ryans' plans to use it for their own nefarious purposes. Jax listened intently, his expression growing increasingly grim. "Those monsters," he muttered. They won't get away with this, not if I can help it. He turned to Kay. What do you need me to do? We need you to help us decipher the heart of Astria, Kay said. Zara has discovered a hidden message, but it's encrypted. Can you break the code? Jax grinned. Breaking codes is what I do best. Give me a few hours, and I'll have that message cracked. As Jax set to work, Celestia couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. They had found allies, unlikely as they were, who were willing to risk their lives to help them. They had a chance to fight back against the Ryan Empire, and they weren't going to waste it. They would find the sacred site, activate the heart of Astria, and save her planet, no matter the cost. The fate of Astria, and perhaps the galaxy, rested on their shoulders. Kay's casual demeanor barely flickered as the remnants of shattered glass rained down around them. He moved with a speed that belied his apparent lack of concern, ushering Celestia further into the apartment. Quantum shielding's down on that section, he muttered, already tapping at his wrist-mounted device. Gotta reroute the power grid. Genera, with me. You know the drill. Genera, her face still etched with remorse, followed Kay without hesitation. Celestia watched them go, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. Trusting Genera was still a gamble, but Kay seemed to have an uncanny ability to read people. Zara, ever practical, was already gathering their gear. We can't stay here, she stated, her voice sharp. They know we're here, and they'll be back with reinforcements. We need to get to the Redwood National Park. Now. Jax is still working on deciphering the message, Celestia reminded her. We can't leave without knowing the location of the sacred site. We don't have a choice, Zara countered. We're sitting ducks here. Besides, she added, a sly grin spreading across her face, I may have already downloaded a copy of Jax's decryption program onto my device. We can continue the work on the road. Celestia nodded, conceding the point. They needed to move, and fast. She felt a growing sense of urgency, a premonition that time was running out. All right, she said. Let's go. Kay and Genera returned, their faces grim. The shielding is back up, Kay reported. But it won't hold them for long. We need to disappear. Then let's disappear, Zara said, leading the way back to the hidden garage. As they sped towards the coast, Zara worked feverishly on her device, trying to crack the encrypted coordinates. Hours passed, filled with tense silence and the hum of the engine. Finally, as the sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the Pacific Ocean, Zara let out a triumphant shout. I've got it. The sacred site, it's located deep within the redwood forest, near an ancient grove of trees known as the Whispering Giants. Celestia felt a surge of hope. They were close, so close. But she knew that the Ryan forces wouldn't be far behind. They needed to reach the Whispering Giants and activate the heart of Astria before Varkos and his soldiers could intercept them. They arrived at the Redwood National Park and ventured into the forest. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Towering redwood trees loomed overhead, their massive trunks reaching towards the sky like ancient sentinels. A sense of peace and tranquility settled over Celestia as she walked among these giants, a stark contrast to the chaos and danger that had been her constant companion. Kay, however, seemed uneasy. He scanned their surroundings, his senses on high alert. Something's not right, he muttered. I can feel it. We're not alone. As if on cue, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the forest. Ryan soldiers emerged from behind the trees, their weapons drawn. Commander Varkos stepped forward, his face twisted into a cruel smile. I must admit, Princess, you are proving to be quite persistent, Varkos said. But your little game ends here. Surrender the heart of Astria, and I promise you a quick and painless death. I will never surrender, Celestia replied, her voice filled with defiance. This is my planet, my place, and I stand with a new warrior for my kind survival. Then you will die, Varkos said, raising his hand to signal the attack. The Ryan soldiers opened fire, and the forest erupted in a cacophony of energy blasts and screams. Celestia, Kay, Zara, and Genera fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The Ryan soldiers pressed their attack, forcing them to retreat deeper into the forest. As they reached the Whispering Giants, Celestia knew that this was their last stand. They were surrounded, with no escape. She held the heart of Astria tightly in her hand, its warm pulse the only source of comfort in the midst of the chaos. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We have to try. We have to activate the heart." Kay stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "I'm ready," he said. "Let's do this." Celestia placed the heart of Astria in Kay's outstretched hands. As his fingers closed around the artifact, a surge of energy erupted from his body, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. The ancient redwoods glowed with an ethereal light, and the air crackled with power. Kay began to speak in the ancient Astrian dialect, reciting the words of the prophecy. His voice echoed through the forest, growing louder with each passing second. As he reached the final verse, the heart of Astria unleashed its full power. A beam of pure energy shot into the sky, piercing through the clouds and reaching towards the stars. The Ryan soldiers recoiled in terror, their weapons falling from their hands. Commander Varkos screamed in rage, but his voice was drowned out by the growing power of the heart. Kay's body began to transform. His muscles grew larger, his skin shimmered with a golden light, and his eyes burned with the power of 1,000 suns. He was no longer just Kay, the ordinary human. He was something more, something ancient and powerful. He turned to face Commander Varkos, his voice resonating with authority. "You have come to take what is not yours," he said. "But you will find that Earth is under my protection. I am the guardian of this world, and now the protector of Astria, and I will not stand by while you threaten its people." With a wave of his hand, Kay unleashed a torrent of energy, blasting the Ryan soldiers into oblivion. Commander Varkos stood frozen in terror, unable to comprehend the power that stood before him. Kay stepped forward, his eyes burning into Varkos's soul. "Your reign of terror ends here," he said. "I will not allow you to spread your darkness across the galaxy." With a final blast of energy, Kay destroyed Varkos and his remaining forces, banishing the Ryan Empire from Earth forever. As the dust settled, Kay's transformation began to subside. His body returned to its normal form, and the golden light faded from his eyes. He looked at Celestia, Zara, and Genera, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "It is done," he said, his voice filled with exhaustion. "Astria is safe." Celestia rushed to his side, her heart filled with gratitude and awe. "You saved us," she said. "You saved my world." Kay chuckled, shaking his head. "We saved each other," he replied. "And now, it's time to build a better future, together." As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its warm light over the redwood forest, Celestia knew that a new chapter had begun. The heart of Astria had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Thanks to the courage of a princess, the brilliance of a scientist, the loyalty of a reformed trader, and the extraordinary power of an ordinary man, Astria was safe, and a new alliance had been forged between two worlds. The story had just begun.